Hey, hope you're doing well. I'd like to talk about volleys today. The main thing I've been focusing on recently, and honestly for several years now, 3, 4, 5 years, is the idea of volleying more with the body, meaning torso, hips, shoulders, more so rotational energy as opposed to linear energy, which, by the way, is kind of the core element that people have been focusing on is this whole big idea of like the modern game of tennis, which really, I guess, kind of came into vogue like in the 90s, early 2000s. The core difference between the old school way of teaching and the new school way of teaching was more circles, more circular motion as opposed to straight lines. And I think the volley is the last shot in tennis to get that treatment. Everybody, I think, originally started focusing on that big time with ground strokes and the serve. Everybody understands the need for a racket drop. And there's all this focus on like right to left, swing path on the serve and the birthday hat, and like drawing a C with ground strokes and lag and snap and like windshield wiper. Like these are all we're talking about circles, where we're talking about moving the racket through a circular path, as opposed to the old school way of teaching tennis was turn to the side, racket back, swing through, point towards your target. Yes, believe it or not, decades ago, people were taught to finish with their arm and their hand extended out towards their target, and that was the finishing point. It wasn't a circle, it was a straight line. I'm literally just I'm connecting these dots in my head like right now. Yeah, I'm going to be talking more about this. Though the whole like modern game, thing. So with volleys, what I see most commonly with normal players is linear movements with the racket, meaning the racket starting behind the ball, going forward in a straight line towards the ball, and then continuing out in a straight line towards the target. Sometimes we'll see additional movements after the ball gets hit. Like this player on this particular shot is hitting through, then kind of circling around. But the hit itself is straight. It's linear. This is a classic punch style of volley. And when players are focused on keeping things simple, which is good in volleys, and not swinging, which is good in volleys, all the emphasis gets put on the arm and the hand. And when all the emphasis and attention is on the arm and the hand, things get very straight, things get very linear. And the more and more I watch world-class players hit volleys, the more I notice that where is Andy's chest facing right now? Almost to the camera, not quite, but almost to the camera. And as he makes contact, the chest is turning and continues to turn. This is not a linear path. Watch the tip of his racket. The racket starts behind the ball, and instead of going straight through, what's happening is his racket is being drawn around his body in a circle because his hips and his shoulders are turning. So we have a circular path of the racket here. Now you could argue that, well, at contact, isn't his racket just traveling forwards? And it'd be honestly, in all honesty, like it'd be really interesting to see a view of this from overhead. That's definitely a video I'm gonna do, like from a drone, perspective, a drone shot overhead. How much of a circle is this racket actually tracing through? And let me find another clip here. If we watched players like Roger hit a bunch of forehand and backhand volleys from overhead, watch the tip of his racket, the path of his racket. Do you see how it's a circle? It's about a quarter circle coming around. If we look from overhead, I think tennis players and coaches would be surprised to see it's very circular and it's not very linear. It's not a punch. It's not a straight through motion. Even while trying to keep it like simple, there's a lot of curve to the path of the racket. What does this do? When you start to use your body to hit the volley, and I mean, doesn't this, just looking at, I'm just pivoting in my chair right now. Imagine I've got a racket in my hand and I'm redirecting the ball back towards you in the direction the ball came from. Doesn't this just look smooth and competent and like a good, tennis player, this does not look smooth or competent or like a good tennis player. If you just think about really, really, top level elite tennis players hitting a volley, the way you do that is by activating the body. It's by volleying with the body. And the more people volley with the body, the more the hand can be passive and relaxed. And the more the hand is passive and relaxed, the more consistent and precise the racket face stays. And the more consistent and precise the racket face stays, the more precise your results will be on the other side. And the more ability you will have to do things like absorb a little more energy. Or if you need to, be firm and tight while continuing to use your body to continue getting the precision that you need, the consistency that you need. So anyway, there's something I've been thinking about, and I feel like I'm just kind of starting to organize my thoughts relatively well. This new idea that I literally just thought of, volleys in more of a modern way, is something I'm going to be pursuing more. It'd be really interesting to see some high-level volleys from overhead. That's something I definitely want to do now in the future. So, volley with your body, not your hand. Hopefully it's helpful. Thanks for watching. Talk to you again soon.